this computer. There you go, Susan, that works.
Okay, good.
Okay, it is 7 p.m. I am going to call the meeting of the Arundel Planning Board to order. Today is July 23rd, 2020. This is a remote Zoom meeting. On the agenda, we have approval of the minutes for July 29th, 2020. Public comment. We have pending applications. Raymond Acres subdivision amendment. We need to read the findings of fact and vote on that. Under new applications, we have Arundel Cottage Resort, who has asked that we table this until a future date. Item number 2 is Pave Tech Incorporated, a major conditional use application. Proposal to construct a 1,196 square foot garage to store construction equipment for an existing bituminous paving business located on a 5-acre parcel of land, tax map 37, lot 8A, located at 31 Stilfen Way in the R4 district. William Stilfen is the owner and applicant. Then we have 3 different land use ordinance amendments to discuss. We will be discussing commercial driveway standards. We have a discussion on the rear yard setback in the R4 zone to go from 50 feet to 25 feet for accessory non-habitable units such as sheds and gazebos. Then we will talk about standards and criteria for special exceptions to buffer requirements in the shoreland zoning district. Then there is other business. We will then adjourn and go home. So I need a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
I'll second that.
Okay, Marty made a movement to approve it. Was that Susan that seconded it, or was that Jens?
No, it was I.
That was Susan, okay. I
Yes.
thought I had heard Jens jump in ahead of you. Okay, that is the agenda. All motion has been made and seconded for approval. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Jamie?
Aye.
It is unanimous. Thank you very much.
Through the chair,
Yes,
Mr. Chairman, we do have a representative from the Cape Arundel Cottage Preserve here who will be actually taking up the agenda item.
oh, okay.
Okay?
That
Here,
works.
Joni's here. So,
Let the record show Roger Moran has joined us. Okay, that's great. I thought that, I didn't realize they were going to have somebody here.
Yep.
Okay. The next item is the approval of the minutes of July 9th, 2020.
Through the chair.
Yeah, Marty.
Roll call.
Oh, I'm sorry. We have Marty Kane, Susan Roth, Jens Bergen, James Lowry, Roger Moran, and Rich Ganong. It'd be difficult to do a roll call because everybody'd end up speaking at the same time. Okay, so minutes of the meeting, July 9th, 2020. Ladies and gentlemen, what's your pleasure?
We accept them as written.
Jens's motion to accept as written. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Roger seconds it. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any abstentions? Anyone opposed? It is unanimous. Next item up is public comment. This is the time during the meeting when, if members of the public have an item they want to discuss that is not on the agenda, please feel free, raise your hand, and I can make sure that you get unmuted and we can call on you. Seeing none, we will move on to the agenda section. The first item up is Raymond Acres subdivision amendment, a proposed realignment of the approved property line between lots 503 and 505 and the Black Dog cul-de-sac on tax map 30, lot 505 in the R2 and SP districts. Nicholas Raymond is the owner applicant and Amy McNally is the applicant's agent. As I mentioned at the start when this first came up, we have findings of fact that we were not able to get to at the last meeting. I will read them, and then we just need a motion to approve or disapprove.
Through the
Arundel
chair.
Planning, yes,
I thought we went through that last time. And
We
when-
didn't. we hadn't read the findings of fact, Marty. We didn't have them available.
Okay, thank you.
That was just for the shoreline zoning we did last week.
That is correct.
That's right.
And that's what this is for.
This is actually for the boundary amendment. This is for the second amendment of the subdivision. So last week we had addressed the shoreland encroachment. This week we're adjusting the boundary, the sideline setback that also needs to be changed.
Okay. Let me look and see why I'm looking at the wrong findings of fact.
This one is the
Oh,
just
I'm sorry.
subdivision
This is-
amendment.
This is the one that that one needs to be circulated for signature along with this other one. So
That's correct.
hang on just for a second and I will pull that one up. I grabbed the wrong one. Why don't I see the findings of fact?
Starts at the base, Rich.
I'm sorry, say what?
Starts at the base, first page.
Yeah, no, I was out on the town website looking for the findings of fact.
On the second page.
No, I don't see them at all. That's where I'm confused.
So look at the planning board minutes from, is that it, Jens, from July 9th? Oh, no, that was for the special exception. I'm sorry.
Right.
These were circulated.
Aren't we looking for the findings of fact associated with our approval tonight? Are they not appearing on the first page of the findings?
I can't, I'm having a hard time
I
looking.
think what we're supposed to be working with.
I'm having a hard time finding the findings of fact. The one that I had up that I got this morning at 8:30 is the shoreland zoning. I don't have,
That's the one I asked you to circulate for.
right,
for-
and I haven't done it yet, but tonight's is for the revision to the property line, and I don't see where they are on the website.
You want me to email them to you?
They're not on the website. They were sent to you, all of you guys at the beginning of the week.
Okay, hang on just for a second.
I have them.
Yeah, I do too.
Right?
7/16, Tad?
No, they're July 23rd. I don't know the date.
It was
the July.
yesterday.
Yeah, it was. I think you got them yesterday. I think they got them earlier.
That's okay, hang on just for a second.
Yeah.
There's the
I just sent them
findings-
to you, Rich.
findings of fact.
July
Please
23rd.
circulate those. That's not the right. Draft findings for Raymond Acres.
It would be dated today.
Yes. July
I
23rd.
just sent you an email, Rich, with it, with the attachment.
Yeah, no, I have them. I found the ones that Tad sent to us before.
What date is that sent on?
Today.
I have findings of fact and approval motion, Raymond Acres subdivision amendment, July 23rd, 2020. Whereas on November 8th, 2018, the Arundel Planning Board approved a subdivision revision 1 Nicholas Raymond for the proposed re-subdivision of lot 503 and the addition of 1.46 acres from tax map 30 lot 2 to create a fourth buildable lot in the Raymond Acres subdivision located at Black Dog Road, tax map 30 lots 503 and 505 in the R2 and stream protection and SO over shoreland overlay districts. Whereas on February 6th, 2020, the applicant applied for and received a building permit for the construction of a 28-foot by 38-foot Cape-style dwelling with an approved septic system and well located well location outside of the shoreland zoning district and within the R2 setbacks. Whereas on April 23rd, 2020, the code enforcement officer informed the planning department that Raymond dwelling had been improperly sited on lot 505, such that the dwelling and fill encroached significantly into the stream protection district, and the north side of the building encroached 15 feet into the mandatory 25-foot property line setback. A survey was prepared by Lower Village Survey confirming the encroachments. Whereas on May 28th, 2020, the planning board received an application for an amendment to an approved subdivision plan from the applicant, which proposed amendments to the northerly property line of lot 505 to correct the side setback violation and requested a special exception from the 75-foot setback requirements of the stream protection district. Whereas on June 11th, 2020, the planning board conducted a site walk on lot 505 to examine the impact of the proposed changes to the lot line and the impact upon the shoreland zone. Whereas on June 25th, 2020, the planning board received a shoreland zoning application from the applicant requesting a special exception under the terms of section 8634 and 864 of the Arundel Land Use Ordinance. The planning board reviewed the application and deemed it complete. Whereas on July 9th, the planning board conducted a public hearing on the proposed project. In addition, the planning board granted a special exception to the applicant for a reduction in the stream protection district setback from 75 feet to 25 feet from the stream resource and associated wetlands. Whereupon the Arundel Planning Board has reviewed and given due consideration of the applicant's amended application and has arrived at the following findings. Findings of fact: the owner with right title and interest in tax map 30 lot 505 is Nicholas Raymond II. Number 2, the property tax map 30 lot 505 is located off Black Dog Lane in the R2 district and the stream protection and shoreland overlay districts. Number 3, the applicant received an approval for a subdivision amendment in November 7th, 2019 to create lot 505 from the portions of tax map 30 lot 2 and tax map 30 lot 503 that included an adequate building window to construct a dwelling, garage, septic system, and well within the side yard and 75-foot stream protection district. Number 4, the applicant inadvertently constructed the dwelling on lot 505 such that the dwelling unit and supporting fill encroach substantially into the stream protection district and 15 feet into the required 25-foot side yard setback of lot 505. On July 9th, 2020, the planning board granted a shoreland zone special exception reducing the stream protection district setback to 25 feet from the Gulf Brook tributary, thereby rendering the house and fill deposition on lot 505 to be conforming. Number 6, to remedy the side yard setback violation, the applicant proposes to acquire a 1,092 square foot portion of land from lot 503 in exchange for transferring a 1,263 square foot portion of land from lot 505 to lot 503. As shown on the amended subdivision plan for Raymond Acres, prepared by Lower Village Survey Company dated May 14th, 2020. The acquired portion of land will establish a 25-foot side setback for the principal building under construction on lot 505. The current cul-de-sac frontage on lot 505 is 69 feet, 6 feet short of the 75-foot frontage required under Land Use Ordinance Section 623. To remedy this nonconformity, the applicant will also acquire 302 square feet from lot 503 on the Black Dog cul-de-sac, thereby increasing the legal frontage of lot 505 to 77 feet and rendering the lot conforming with Land Use Ordinance 623. The exchange of property described in finding number 7 will effectively maintain the same acreage of lot 505 and lot 503 as approved by the planning board on November 7th, 2019. Conformance with Article 11 performance standards. After due review and consideration, the Arundel Planning Board has deemed the amendments of the approved subdivision plan application dated May 14th, 2020 to have not effectively impacted all the findings of conformance with the criteria of Section 11 of the Arundel subdivision regulations as originally approved by the planning board on November 7th, 2019. Conclusions of the planning board. Number one, the criteria of Title 30-A MRSA Section 4404 have been met. Number two, the standards of the Arundel subdivision regulation have been met. Number three, the standards of Section 57, 62, and 80 of the Arundel Land Use Ordinance have been met. Therefore, be it resolved that based on the above findings and conclusions, the Arundel Planning Board hereby approves the proposed amendments to the subdivision plan as prepared by Lower Village Survey Company dated May 14th, 2020, contingent upon the following conditions. The subdivision must be recorded in the York County Registry of Deeds within 90 days of the date upon which the plan is approved and signed by the board, otherwise it shall become null and void. The applicant is required to submit a Mylar paper copy and a PDF of the signed plan as registered in the York County Registry of Deeds to the town planner within 90 days of the approval date. Number three, the revised property line pins and monuments shall be set by a Maine registered land surveyor for the adjusted property lines of lots 503 and 505 prior to the issuance of a certificate of occupancy for the dwelling unit being constructed on lot 505. Number four, failure to complete substantial construction of the subdivision within 2 years of the date of approval of the plan shall render the plan null and void. Number five, failure to obtain an NRPA permit from the Maine Department of Environmental Protection for the encroachment into the 75-foot NRPA setback from the Goff Mill Brook tributary shall render this subdivision amendment approval null and void, so approved by the Arundel Planning Board this 23rd day of July, 2020.
So moved.
Roger moved,
Second.
Jens seconded. Any discussion?
Yes.
Yeah, Marty?
We discussed it the last time about the owner and future owner of the property, how to maintain that section.
That is on the other approval.
Okay,
It will be coming around to you later this evening for DocuSign signatures along with this one. So you get them both at the same time.
thank you.
Any other discussion?
If I may briefly?
Yes, you may.
The date of the plan that was actually printed is actually dated today, so I don't know if that should be reflected in the findings of fact. Just that the date will be different. Tad, is that?
Is that a problem, Tad?
Oh, you're muted.
I'll just put it revisions to July 23rd.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay. So we'll get that all taken care of and we'll get it submitted. Anybody else have any questions? Hearing none. I'll call a roll call vote. Marty?
Yay.
Susan?
Okay.
Jens?
Aye.
Roger?
Aye.
Jamie?
Aye.
It is unanimous. Congratulations, Nick.
I appreciate it, guys.
Long road.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt.
Thank you. And Tad, Nick did try to drop plans off this afternoon, but I think the mailbox was too small, so we'll get you those on Monday for signature.
All right, thank you. Appreciate that.
Awesome. Yeah, got them right here.
All right. We'll be there Monday, okay?
Perfect.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you.
Okay. The next application. Cape Arundel Cottage, a discussion on an amendment to the conditions of use for Cape Arundel Cottage Resort Project to redesignate the Mountain Road Hidden Meadows access as a temporary service entrance for light construction vehicles. The project is located at 1976 Portland Road, Tax Map 15, Lot 13 in the BI District. Arundel Kennebunkport Cottage Reserve LLC is the owner, and Joe Paolini is the applicant. And in this case, I believe the applicant has an agent here.
Joni, you're muted. Unmute yourself.
I am unmuted now. Yes, I'm representing, I'm here for the developer this evening.
Okay. So why does he want this?
Well, the whole idea is for light construction vehicles to enter and exit the project via Hidden Meadows and Mountain Road during construction hours. So they're not going through established residential neighborhoods.
Okay. And what do you mean by light construction vehicles?
Not to exceed the tonnage that's posted on Mountain Road. I believe it's 15 tons.
Okay. We probably have a difference of opinion as to what constitutes light if you can get 16 tons someplace.
15 tons, yes, yes. Yes, but primarily he's talking about light construction vehicles such as delivery vehicles, not 10-wheelers. He's talking about pickup trucks, construction workers entering and exiting the site. So as you're familiar with the site, we're nearing on to phase 4B. We're getting farther in towards Hidden Meadows. So this enables people for our construction workers to enter and exit during construction hours only. It's gated and it would be locked.
Right. That's what I was, when I was thinking of light vehicles, I was thinking of construction pickup trucks that the contractors would be driving back and forth. That's what I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, that's okay. That is primarily the way it's been represented to me, but also I was told to represent it as that not to exceed the tonnage that's posted on Mountain Road.
Okay. Any questions by the board?
What's the tonnage on Mountain Road?
15 tons.
This is basically a transfer of the burden associated with vehicular traffic away from the residents of that community, correct? So they're not coming up through the main entrance that is provided by Route 1?
Joe's proposal is for this to be done during the season. The season here is, well, residents are here May 1st through December 31st. And his intention is to use the temporary access during that period of time. And then in the 4 months that we are not occupied, to use the Route 1 access. And then all heavy equipment, Rondon equipment, excavating equipment, large vehicles would still be coming in through Route 1 access, the main access.
Any questions from anyone else?
And will it be gated when they're not being used?
It's gated right now, and it's gated and locked right now, and it would remain gated and unlocked either by, we have a construction gate here on the Route 1 side as well. It would be unlocked by one of our site supervisors, or would have some sort of a code, but it would be unlocked at 7 o'clock in the morning, Monday through Friday, and locked at the end of the business day. Joe had also, well, the developer had discussed with the owners on Hidden Meadows, and they were amenable to this, and he had also offered to pave Hidden Meadows as well.
Okay.
Through the chair.
Yeah, Marty.
What's the width of this going to be? And is this going to be also paved up to the gate?
I can't answer that. Ultimately, it will be paved up to the gate because that's Patriot Way that leads all the way to there, and all of the main roads will be paved in Cape Arundel Cottages. I can't give you the width, I'm sorry. Or when that end of Patriot Way will be paved. We're about a phase and a half away from that being paved at this point.
Through the chair.
Yeah,
The
Marty.
reason I'm asking is because that originally was going to be for fire trucks entrance only at the time.
Yep.
Correct.
That's why I'm inquiring to make sure we still have enough width there.
Well, that goes into the other question that I was going to ask, and that's whether or not you have cleared this with Unitel, because you have to cross the gas line.
Good point. Very good point.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
So we are the representing residents of Hidden Meadows Drive. So at this point in time, we are a private association holding a liability insurance on our own road. And we have had only verbal conversation with Joe Paolini at this point in time. There has been no written agreements or consent by myself or any of the other residents and landowners on Hidden Meadows. We are neither for or opposed at this point in time due to the fact that there have not been any written agreements. So at this point in time, our road is private and there is a gate for fire and emergency access only. So this is just information I wanted to share for the sake of the board and the planning.
Well, if we proceed forward, we will make sure that you guys will get a written document detailing everything that's going to go on and what impact it's going to have, whether the road has to be paved or is allowed to remain dirt. Those are issues that you're going to have to work with Joe to resolve. If you got, a lot of it is pretty much up to you. My biggest concern is the crossing of the traffic, making sure that it is not overly heavy. I don't want to see 15 tons may be allowed on Mountain Road, but I don't think Unitel's going to want a 15-ton truck driving over their gas line.
Yeah, and we just wanted to make it aware that at this point in time, there are no written agreements. So we will then be having conversation with Joe Paolini if the board so decides to pass this.
Well, we won't pass it until you guys have reached some kind of an agreement.
Understood.
So that's all going to be part of the process.
Very
So,
good.
Phil, are you the point person on this whole thing?
I am. Thank you.
Okay.
Through the chair,
Yes, sir.
could I have your names, folks? Oh, they just left.
That was Phil Berthium.
I'm still here.
you're
Oh, are
still-
you? You
Oh,
disappeared.
you're down below. You're down
Oh.
below. You just changed.
I jumped around. Sorry. So the residents on Hidden Meadows Drive, the current residing residents, are Philip and Mary Berthium
Okay.
and Benedict and Kathy Rush. There is a Mark Soulard who is a landowner but is not residing on his property.
Mhm.
It is just a vacant lot at this point in time.
Right. Okay. Okay, very good.
Does the board have any more questions?
One from me, whether it's to the residents there on Hidden Meadows or for Joan, what rights over Hidden Meadows does the development have right now? What rights to access it or to use that for access?
None whatsoever.
Emergency.
Thank you.
Emergency only, okay.
Only the fire department has access through.
Mhm.
Okay.
I remember that. We went through a great deal of pain and discussion to make sure that access point was restricted just to the fire department, because we did not want the fire department or ambulances to have to go all the way around to Route 1 when they were half a mile up the road.
Correct.
Are there any other questions for the applicant or for the abutters? Okay, hearing none. Joan, you have some direction? Do you need anything from us?
Not at this point. I have several questions I will get answered, and I'm sure Joe will be back in contact with Tad as well as the residents on Hidden Meadows.
Okay, excellent. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you all.
The next item, PaveTech, major conditional use application, a proposal to construct a 1,196 square foot garage to store construction equipment for an existing bituminous paving business located on a 5-acre parcel of land, tax map 37, lot 8A, located at 31 Stilfen Way in the R4 district. William Stilfen is the owner and applicant. Let me find Alicia and unmute them. Or try to okay, there, they're unmuted. Now, for the planning board, those of you that have looked at the information that came out, you saw that there was an application to construct, sorry, my brain pulled a complete cramp. You saw an application to construct an 1,100 square foot pole barn. We do not have a map. The map that we have indicates that this is for a contractor yard 2. So before we proceed any further, I'm looking for a motion to deem this application incomplete because we can't move forward. We don't have the appropriate documentation.
So when we had spoken to Tad, he had told us that we had just had to have Jason put the pole barn on our existing site plan that we had. So when Jason put that on the plan, he didn't doctor up the old site plan. So it's the stuff from when we had applied originally for it, we just hadn't removed anything because he said we could use the site plan that we had. So we forwarded it over. He has had that since July 8th. It should have been looked at before that. Instead, we got an email this morning saying that that site plan had too much stuff on it. We are not going for a type 2 yard construction permit. We are not going to put 4 or 5 dump trucks in a pole barn. It's still going to be the 2 dump trucks going into the pole barn with the paving equipment and the material that we have, and we have the permit for now.
And I understand that that can be problematic, but for the planning board, it's more problematic. We can't sign that plan. That
Okay,
plan
so
is not valid.
We understand that you can't sign that one, but Jason can send another one over to you by the first of the week. We got this at the very last minute today, or this would have been done sooner. And we sent emails saying to disregard everything that was on there because all we want is a permit. Like when I talked to you that Saturday and Susan and fire chief and everybody, I got approved for the little one. And you said, Bill, just go to the planning board and tell us what you want.
But even, Bill, even at that, this map shows that pole barn in a different position than where you told us you were going to put it.
Right, because Tad and I were talking, and he said, Bill, it'd be nicer if you could put it up by the front of the road. So then Jason and I got over there on the property, and we turned it towards the trees so it even hit it and less noise.
we got it further away from the properties over there, Machip K Lane, that are having the concerns with the noise.
Mr. Chair, can I add on here a little bit too? This is Jason.
Yes, Jason.
Yeah. So this probably is my fault. Bill and I were talking, and he needed that plan lickety split, and I just put the building. So as far as the building location, from a site perspective and just the general good site design, I talked with Bill, and I thought that building would probably be best served as business and traffic going through there and all those other things in the location that it's shown on that plan. But this is just a labeling oversight on my part. I should have done an amended site plan and taken off. So it'd be really easy for me to fix that plan, but like they're saying, I just got notified this afternoon that, that stuff was left on, and that's just, me trying to do things quickly, as we're typically pretty busy right now. So yeah, it's to the sense that no one's trying to pull anything on anybody here. It literally is just for a pole barn.
And I understand that position completely. From the planning board, the application is not complete. We don't have, if I had to rely on that plan, I would have to vote to deny the application. And that's what we have to work with. So my suggestion would be that to the planning board, that we deem this incomplete and that you come back at the meeting in August with an actual plan that shows where all of this is going. One that
Well,
does
I
not
would-
have 15 vehicles on it.
Well, I would just, so per your ordinance, your site plan ordinance, we have to show parking for the number, whether he has a contractor yard, 1 or 2, he needs parking for so many vehicles. And the parking spaces that are shown on that plan, if you recall last time, those are not contractor vehicles, those are passenger vehicles. So in that sense, I mean, I would argue that I would not argue that it's complete or incomplete. You have a plan there. It's just there's some mislabels on it. But you know, that's my perspective. So.
Mr. Chairman, may I ask a question? This is Dewey Guile.
Yes, please.
My question is, when I see the drawing for the pole barn, it explicitly says the intent is for 4 dump trucks. I guess I would ask either the engineer or Mr. Stilfen why that language was put in there if it's just for construction equipment, quote unquote. Thank you.
That was my fault, but I just had from call it nightmare memories of the last rendition. That's just probably something that was in my head. He's not looking for any more equipment other than what he's got here. He's just looking for a place to park them inside the pole barn.
Well, I would reference the number of vehicles that are listed in the parking requirements in the upper left-hand corner. It says 9 passenger vehicles, 8 employees and 1 visitor, and 6 spaces for construction vehicles. That's 15 spaces. If he puts 15 spaces, he has to pave this. I don't think this application is complete, and I am asking someone on the planning board to make a motion deeming it incomplete, so that, as opposed to rejecting it, if we deem it incomplete, then Paytech and Billy have the chance to make it a complete application. If we reject it completely, it dies right there. And I would rather see it be deemed incomplete so that he can get us the information that we're supposed to have.
So I guess, Rich, my thought on that is not to deem it incomplete, but just to simply table it
Yeah.
until they can clean up that plan and get whatever they need to.
Oh, okay. We can do it. We can do that as well. My first thought was that if we say bring us a completed application with the appropriate map and all of the other particular information, that would be fine.
Yeah, I think that's a good suggestion, Jamie.
If he makes that a motion, I'll second it.
So moved.
Okay, you're moving to table it, correct?
Yes,
Yeah.
until they clean that plan up so we can
Okay.
move forward.
A motion has been made and seconded to table the application. Any discussion?
I just want to say, I wish that somebody, when we had given the plans over 2 weeks ago, would have said something that the miscommunication was on there, didn't understand that that was on there. I'm not sure where the miscommunication is happening just today, why we're just hearing about it today. So I wish when we had delivered them for the 2-week time period for review for people on the board to look at them, that we would have heard something sooner rather than later, that it was either incomplete or it was something that you may have needed a change to, so we could have taken care of that. You know what I mean?
I do.
I've communicated a lot back and forth with Tad in regards to what he has and what he hasn't had. Do you have everything you possibly need? Yep, this is all I need. And he clearly hadn't gotten looked at until recently, or we wouldn't have just gotten an email this morning at 9:44.
Okay.
I mean, it's extremely frustrating. We were there thinking we were on the meeting for the 2 weeks ago. But since that site plan, since that site plan from Jason wasn't given 2 weeks earlier, we weren't able to get on that, which there was a miscommunication in that via emails because I had emailed numerous times as well. So there's just been a breakdown in information in regards to this because I've reached out lots of times, and it's just been very frustrating that all of a sudden this morning, here we are, and again, we're like upside down. You know, it's just seems like it's been an ongoing thing for the past 4 weeks. So I appreciate you working with us, I guess, and tabling it, but it's just, just very disheartening this morning to get that and understand that this was just going to be another wash.
Okay. Motion has been made and seconded. Jens, yes or no?
Aye.
Jamie?
Aye.
Roger?
Aye.
Susan? She muted herself.
Yeah.
All right, yes.
All right.
It is unanimous. We will table this. If you get the
Aye, Marty.
I'm sorry, Marty, I forgot to ask you. If you get the information to us before next Thursday, before the 30th, we can get you on the agenda for the 13th, which is the first meeting that we have in August. And if assuming that it is a complete application at that point, we can get you on for a public hearing on the 27th.
Okay, thank you.
We just got to revise that print that Jason sent over, right?
As far as I can tell, yes.
Yeah.
That, to me, that's the big problem, because we don't have a map that we can rely on. There's a bunch of stuff in there that's.
No, I understand that.
I don't
It's
think
all,
you want. I know you do paving for a living, but I don't think you want to pave that entire yard.
well, if I had to, I would, but I don't want to.
All right. We'll look forward to seeing you in August.
Okay, thank you for your time.
The next item, land use ordinances.
You done?
No.
Land use ordinances. A proposal to establish uniform construction and dimensional standards for commercial driveways in land use ordinance section 5.2.
Mr. Chairman, I request that we move on to the next agenda item on that.
Okay. The next agenda item is the reduction of the rear yard setback in the R4 from 50 to 25 feet for accessory non-inhabitable units such as sheds and gazebos. We got this from Susan. So Susan will have to abstain from, she can take part in the discussion, but she'll have to abstain from the voting.
Why?
Say what?
Why?
Because she's the applicant to make an ordinance change, and on the planning board, she
Okay.
I proposed it, Marty.
she's not
Okay.
impartial. So she can talk to us about it as a member of the public, but from a vote point of view, she would not be an impartial person.
Thank you.
Do you want to talk to us about it, Susan?
Yeah, so I wanted to construct a small shed, uninhabitable, with a certain height and size volume. And I went to Jim Nagel and I asked him what the setback was, and he said it's 25 feet. And I said, in the R4, and he said, oh, are you in the R4? Let me look. And then he said, oh, the R4 is the only district that has a 50-foot setback. Everybody else has 25. And I said, well, do you have any objection if I raise this with the planning board? And I said, because that way I don't have to end up putting the shed in the middle of the space. I could put it on the periphery of the space that I want to landscape and whatever. So Jim said, no, he didn't have any problem with it. And he actually thought it would be a worthwhile change because he gets many requests from other homeowners, landowners in the district that would like to add auxiliary sheds that are uninhabitable, like a gazebo or a woodshed or a gardening shed or whatever, and that he just hasn't gotten around to, discussing making the change. So I went to Tad and Jim, and Tad wrote something very erudite up and sent it around, and it works for me if it works for all of you.
Have you all had a chance to look at it?
Yes.
Are there any?
Chairman, I have a question.
Yes.
Would a pole barn be considered non-habitable?
I would consider it non-habitable. I think that question would be more appropriate for the codes enforcement officer to make that definition.
Is it possible that, I agree, I have a shed and what have you, it's small, and I understand where this is coming from. But is there a way we can put some language in there so that a 4,000 square foot, I'm being extreme, pole barn that nobody lives in cannot be put in within the setback? I'm not saying that we do it now, but what I'm saying is,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm just saying, can we, it might be prudent to put some additional language in there that when you reduce the setback for things like sheds and gazebos, that there's some protective language that doesn't allow somebody to put in something huge, even though somebody doesn't live in it.
So
You understand where I'm coming from?
I looked at a lot of the surrounding towns' ordinances on something like this, and we had discussed this at one of the earlier meetings, that we were thinking it would be no larger than 10 by 12, no taller than 15 feet. So we had a size in mind.
Okay.
And I agree with you, and I think it should be included in the language, whether it's Kennebunkport is 12 by 12, Wells is 10 by 12, Kennebunkport is 12 by 12. I mean, Kennebunk is 12 by 12.
Okay.
All of them are 15 feet tall, so that pretty much limits
Super.
what you can do. So
Okay.
I agree with you, though. I think it should be defined.
Yeah, I have a shed myself, and I had to put it out back long ago because I didn't want to get it near a setback. I could have put it in a better place. But anyhow, so I understand it. I just, like I said, as long as that there's some limitations
Right.
that some other people might not take advantage of. That's all I'm saying. Otherwise,
Right, and we will
Good idea.
include that. And Jim also, and I don't think I'm putting words in Jim's mouth because he responded, although not with that much specificity that we're discussing this evening, but that it seemed consistent to him to bring it in line with the other districts, even though the R4 is considered rural conservation. It's largely becoming residential, and the uses for people's property is going to include sheds, gazebos, and things like that that might not necessarily work as well 50 feet off the property line as they would 25.
yep, agreed. Okay.
I think the only, when I look at the ordinance, or not so much the ordinance, but when I look at the chart that went out related to the R4, I'm confused as to why the accessory structures on the side yard setback were changed to 25 feet.
Well, that again brings it in line with all of the other districts. And accessory doesn't mean like garage or any larger building like I just described to Dewey. It's a very specific size within a certain parameters. So all the other residential districts are at 25 feet in the side setback and 35 feet in the R4.
Okay.
So I'm not sure 10 feet and would make that big of a difference. And it might make a difference in terms of where you might actually place something in a side yard.
It was
Again,
myself because I wanted to put it next to the garage, but because we were closer to Bill Stilton's property, we couldn't do that. So we put it behind the house, which is fine. But preferably we would have wanted to put it next to the garage, but the setback prevented us from doing that. So I get that.
yeah, Jim said he gets a lot of questions, requests, and whatever. It's just, there's so much to do and there's so much going on. It just didn't happen.
Okay.
Yeah, currently there's no size limitation for such a structure, correct, Ted?
Excuse me, Rian, I didn't hear you. broke up on me.
Yeah, currently there isn't any kind of limitations on the size of an accessory structure.
Well,
The ordinance.
actually, right now, we don't make it, we're one of the few towns that I've ever encountered that does not have a separate set of regulation or separate set of standards for an accessory structure or a structure that is subordinate to the principal use of the lot. And so this seemed like Jim and I had actually laughed about this a number of times and said, I wonder when we will get to that, because a gazebo or a small shed must meet the same setbacks as a large garage. Dewey's right. This does not limit the size of the building. It does limit the use of the building. For instance, I think in Bill's situation, in that particular situation, I don't think anybody could consider that garage to be an accessory use to the primary use of that facility as a, what would we call it? It's a business. It's a paving business. It's not accessory. It's part of the principal use there, which is a paving business. So in that particular case, I'm not sure I would buy that. But I understand that the reduction in the square footage and the height of an accessory use could be helpful. I mean, it's getting back to the old English law of providing adequate sunlight and air circulation for neighbors to make sure you don't put up something too large on the property line that denies them sunlight or proper air circulation. You know, we ran into that problem with B&B Trucking, if you recall. That situation where that large building was right next to a residence. Even though that was a primary use, it was such a large building that it actually did, in fact, cause some concerns about light and air and sun. So, yeah, we could look at a restriction on the size and height of that building, whatever accessory use that is. I'm trying to think of anything that would be that a 10 by 10 or a 15 or 10 by 15 or 10 by 12 would. There's some buildings, some garden sheds and so forth that might be bigger than that. I think Jim and I have to do a little exploration if I can nail them down and see.
I sent Jim several ordinances, little snippets from the surrounding towns. And generally the largest size was 12 by 12. And the general height was 15 feet, but I don't believe that took into account cupolas or, you know, whatever. But the roof line was not to exceed 15 feet. And that seemed to be fairly standard in our neighbors' ordinances. So I just took what they had and sent it to Jim.
The neighboring towns are also much more densely populated now than Arundel. So I kind of feel that 12 by 12 may be a little bit small.
Okay, well, I'm open to, I understand what Dewey was saying, and we can arrive at a square footage number, but I think it needs a little more, definition in terms of its overall size.
To the chair.
So no one gets carried away.
Yeah, Marty.
I agree. I agree with you,
Hang on, Stacy.
Jans. I agree with Jans, because the fact is, if somebody's using that as a wood shed, and if you got 4 cords of wood, you aren't going to fit it into a size of building like that or anything else. Or even if you have a small tractor on a 4-acre property to go maintain or anything else, it won't fit in there.
Yeah, a 12 by 16 is 192 square feet. So just for reference.
Yeah, I'm open to all of that. I mean, I think Marty's right. If you have 4 cords of wood and you want to put some gardening tools or a lawnmower or something like that in there, you're going to be hard pressed to get it into a building that's 10 by 12.
Well,
I agree with that. My shed is actually larger than that, and I have my riding mower in it. And so my shed, I think, is 10 by 15 or 15 by 20 or something like that. But yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, I just, we just don't want something to bloom into 4,000 square feet.
Well, I think, you know, if you're looking at a 12 by 15 foot accessory use shed, that's bigger than most bedrooms.
That's still pretty small.
It's still bigger than most bedrooms.
Yeah, well.
So I think we need to, I don't have a problem if we say 12 by 15. I don't have a problem if we say 12 by 12, but I think if we start getting much bigger than 12 by 15 or maybe 12 by 16, which is what Jamie said, I'm not sure I'd be comfortable going that much further over the limit.
How about 10 by 20?
Well, and that's, yeah. I mean, I think if you put it, Marty, like at 200 square foot, you could encompass a 10 by 20, a 12 by 16, whatever.
Right. I think that's a good idea, actually, Marty. I think, Jamie, 200 square feet should do it, don't you?
Yes.
All right. I'm gonna have to rethink this accessory thing, but 200 square feet is reasonable. And 15 feet tall is reasonable.
And would you exclude like decorative things like cupolas or
Would be to the ridge.
yes
Yeah,
or
up to the
no?
ridge line.
I don't think cupolas should be, because, hey, that's just a dress me up. I mean,
Right, but you
well,
could
hey,
construe it as part of its height.
if the owner wants to look at it, I mean, the roof line 15, a cupola is just to make it happy. Turn around, put a windmill
Right.
on it, or make something look pretty. It's not making any use for it.
So 15 feet, Tad, for the roof line.
Yeah, it's usually to the ridge line.
Yeah, to the ridge line.
So Rich, can I ask my question now?
Oh, absolutely.
Thank you. So in terms of the context of the pole barn that we were just discussing with Mr. Stelfen, I don't think there's a setback issue. I studied the plan even as it was presented, which was not, you know, it did have some other, as I think it's his daughter, Alicia, noticed, you know, some inconsistencies. How would the square footage of what that building that he's proposing be put in, which is 1,196 square feet, come into play in context of the fact that he is still deemed by you all as a non-conforming business? So how would you guys deal with the size requirement that he's requesting and the dimensions and such, even though it's not part of this Susan's specific issue? You don't have to answer me now. I'm sure you have to discuss it, but I would like to understand how that's going to come into play.
Okay. Yeah, and I would point out on the 13th when if he gets the paperwork to us and he comes back before us, that would be a more appropriate time to raise the question because he's not here to answer it right now.
Nope, fair enough.
Yeah.
Totally fair.
Honey, you're off topic.
No, I'm getting the honey.
That's
Jesus.
quite okay. I get off topic all the time.
No, I wanted to ask the question just so that I understood, and that's perfectly fair.
She'll be asking it again.
That's
Or
right.
not. If it's answered in the plan, I won't ask it again.
Yeah. Question for you. Is there anybody else on the planning board that has any comments or questions about it? Or how do you feel about the 200 square foot limitation?
I think that's great.
Jens?
Sure.
Marty?
Yay.
Yeah, and Jamie likes the 200, and I know Susan does. So I think the next step then is to finish up drafting that and get that section in the ordinance that Tad has roughed out for us, get that drawn together so that if we get it by the 13th, maybe we can schedule a public hearing at that point to move forward.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to redefine accessory use here. Or else
You could use it for springtime, starting your plants and everything else inside.
Yeah.
No, that would be a greenhouse, and I don't think that's.
No, I'm just saying you prep your soil and do whatever else not.
As long as nothing green grows.
Green is good. it folds.
Did I hear Marty say green is good?
Yeah, you did.
Even though I don't like green.
I know.
You like green pieces of paper with pictures of dead guys on them, don't you?
I said it folds.
Okay, yeah, you're right. It does fold. So it has its advantages. What's the problem with it being an accessory building, Tad?
Because an accessory is usually, if we're going to talk about accessory building or use, I'm not going to, I don't think I want to call an accessory building, limit accessory buildings to a certain size. I think we're going to have to just make it that if you have miscellaneous buildings that are less than a certain square footage in these zones, you can put them within this special zone. I'll have to come up with it in a minute.
Oh, okay.
An accessory building would be, it can be, it's secondary to the primary use. And if the primary use, here's a good one. Primary use would be, I've got a car dealership and I have an outside car wash that's accessory to that. That would put that in a dangerous place. So I don't want to do this. I want to change this a little bit and change the definition of accessory use here, accessory structure. Because it sounds like what we're going to do is if we're going to let small, basically residential or farm buildings close to the setback if they're a small size, but then anything else should be, even if it isn't related to the primary use, that if it's a large enough structure, it should be set back the same as any other principal structure. And I think that's what I'm hearing you folks say right now.
I think that's fair.
Yeah, that's fair.
So I'm going to have to redefine accessory use again.
Okay.
To the chair.
And that's too bad. Jim just liked this, and now he's going to have to say no.
To the chair.
Yeah, Marty.
What is the size at Cape Arundel, their accessory building? What was the size of that for all their canoes and golf carts? And
they're 120 square feet.
Okay.
10 by 12.
Yeah, 10 by 12.
That way, also, we have to be careful that they don't grow.
Well, yeah,
They're not in the R4, Marty, I don't think, and
I realize that, but I'm just saying, a loophole.
Well, no, I think their
in a cluster. They're in a
maintenance agreement will prevent that issue.
Well, it's a planned unit development. It goes where the planning board says it can go.
They wouldn't have enough space 25 feet away.
Well, there are no lot lines. That's the first thing. Remember, those are essentially house-ominiums. They own around the base of the, I think 5 feet out from the foundation. So, and the patio. Everything else is common ground. So that's a totally different situation. That's a different form of ownership.
Okay. Do we need a motion on that, Ted?
No, I know what to do.
Okay. So you'll draw up all of the appropriate paperwork for us.
Yeah, I'll draw up the paperwork on that and get it for you. You want it on the 13th?
If you can get it out to us, if you can get it out to us sooner, yeah, that would be fine. If not, the 13th will be great.
Right now, we've got basically, we might have 3. It all depends on whether Amy can get the rest of the stuff for DMR to me by this Thursday. I gave her a warning and said, get it to me by this Thursday or else, not this Thursday, but the following Thursday, or else you're not going to make the agenda. She said she can. So we'll have 3 project items, which would be DMR, Wellness Center, and we'll also have Stilfen, I assume. So we'll have those 3. So we'll probably have enough time to go through this. If not, then we'll do it on the following meeting. Okay.
Yep.
The next item on the agenda.
All right, folks.
We're going to recuse ourselves. Thank you for your.
Bye, guys.
You don't want to stick around?
Guys.
No, the fun's really beginning.
Yeah, now the fun really starts.
Yeah, you're good without us.
Okay. Actually, Phil, thank you for your help. Actually, that was a good point. Yeah, I haven't, honestly, folks, things have been so crazy in the last week and a half that I haven't been able to do much more work on, every time I sat down to do commercial driveways, a new thing blew up. So the only thing I did do is I worked on, in a moment, that was, it was a little easier to do, and that was to work on the question of special exception criteria. And I was working on the stream stuff, but we had a lot of problems today, so I didn't finish. I didn't get it out to you. I had a proposal, but I haven't gotten it out to you yet. And that was real. I can read it to you if you want.
Interested to see what you came up with. I have my own ideas about what it should say.
Well,
Big surprise there, isn't it?
Has everybody got the? Well, everybody's got the computer. Want me to email it to you right now?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Hold on. Proposed language. Let's see. Commercial. Okay. Let's see. Get all you guys up. Oh, I hope I may have to break into my computer at work to do this. I thought you guys were all on here, but let's see. Maybe you want to talk about what you're. Let's see, Jens.
My thought on shoreline exceptions. When we first addressed the whole issue of an exception, it was due to environmental concerns. And if there had been concerns, we would have said, yes, you can do this for whatever reason. I have a problem allowing anybody to create a self-inflicted wound and then excusing it because they did something wrong. So I would like to see special exceptions. If it does nothing else, I would like to see it address the fact that if it is self-inflicted, if you have done something you should not have done, or your agent has done something that should not have occurred, that is not a special exception. That's just me. I think
I'm with you, Rich.
I think a special exception needs to be something that is beyond the control of the applicant, and it needs to come out before the process gets started. So when they submit the application, they have to say, I need a special exception, and this is why, not after the fact.
Rich?
Yeah, Marty?
One question is, I understand what you're saying there, but particularly under this case, if it would have created a worse circumstance, even though it was a creative situation, it would have created worse if anything else was done otherwise.
I am unconvinced that it would have created worse than what happened. But I mean, it may have, I don't know.
I'm not sure how it would have, to be honest with you. We were in an upland area with basically white pines there. There was nothing special about the upland area there. So I'm like, I wasn't convinced at all about that argument.
I just know how they turn around and move buildings around and everything else and try to rotate them and get equipment in there.
Yeah,
that's where I was coming at. If for disturbance wise, to try to pitch and yaw it around, I think it would have created more problems.
it would have been tricky, Marty. I have no doubt about that at all. But
that's my 2 cents worth.
Oh no, it's a good point, Marty. It is. I'm just saving this, guys. I've got all your names in now, so just have to save this so I can put it in.
So my only question is, Rich, by making it a provision that it has to be addressed before or as the permit is being issued, things do happen environmentally. Streams overflow their banks or other things happen that require changes on the fly. But I agree with you that it should be environmental and not man-made.
From an environmental point of view, if a stream overflows its banks and it causes problems, that's an environmental issue that is not self-inflicted. That is not
Right.
something the applicant had control over.
But they might not be able to address it before the permit was issued. So that would be my only, change.
To
Right.
Chair,
Yeah, Marty?
how about if they turn around and got the permit and proceeded along the way and they hit a spring or something another to avoid, how do you correct that? I mean, an underground spring, or something along that line environmentally.
Don't know how to answer that one, Marty.
I'm just thinking something in my crystal ball.
But I think that the issue, when we start addressing an issue of special exceptions, if we try to come up with every possible solution, you think the land use ordinance is thick now? We
No.
would double its size.
No, I agree with you, but I'm just using that as an example.
Yep, no, and I understand that. It just, more than
So
any,
that would not be man-made though, Marty, so it probably would fit under the description that Rich just gave you.
Okay, I mean, I'm just throwing out it as a thought.
Through the chair,
yes, sir.
if I could just give a different perspective on this. All of our zoning ordinances that we have right now, all of our zones, all of our regulations, pretty much in our various districts are made with the intent of essentially preserving private property values. We're trying to maintain the value of a property for whatever use it is by ensuring that it meets certain design standards that make it preserve its value for other people, preserve its basic value for the owner, and also, frankly, for a stable tax base for the town. When we get into shoreline zoning, the primary use is environmental. It is an environmental regulation. The primary goal of that is to protect the resource. The resource has been identified as being valuable to the town in a non-monetary way. Well, we can come up with monetary ways that some of these resources actually do save the town money and save the state money and provide resources of economic resources as well as visual cultural resources. But the simple fact is the precedent when you get to an environmental law like the shoreline zoning is that the resource takes precedence over the landowner. And I think in most cases, we've got to look at the health and the benefit of the resource before we look at the health and benefit to the landowner. If there are special environmental circumstances in which the landowner can do something that is not going to impact that resource or not going to destroy the integrity of what that zone's intended to do, then I think we might be able to get away with special exceptions. But right now, in talking to Jeff at DEP, he didn't like any of a concept of a special exception at all. Nobody's got it. We're kind of blazing new ground here. And the only reason he's letting us do it is because some of our districts are more restrictive than the Chapter 1000 requires, and that's why he's giving us latitude on this. But if we start getting into the resource at all, or something that the state considers to be an important resource, they're going to slap us down. Because to them, the resource takes precedence over the landowner.
Tad,
Yes, sir.
along that line,
Yes.
does it look like that permit going to be granted?
They don't have that portion of the Goff Mill Brook designated as a stream protection district. We do. By their standard, that wouldn't be a stream protection district. They like the idea that we have that designated. All blue lines on the USGS 7.5 minute quad are considered to be stream protection districts in this town. That's what you guys decided to do. It's a good rule, especially in the Goff Mill Brook, because as I've alluded to, and I have actually a meeting next Tuesday with the Kennebunk River Study Board. We have some serious pollution problems in Goff Mill Brook and Duck Brook. two of our biggest, we have four big watersheds in the town. And two of those big watersheds that dump into the Kennebunk River have serious pollution issues. And those issues are going to be brought to light in our study. And probably the next phase is going to be mitigation. I'm hoping we can do something about the mitigation so we don't get designated as an impaired watershed. Jamie, you know what that means. So we're trying to avoid that and figure out, we're gonna have to come up with ways to avoid that because that can have significant impacts upon land use within those watersheds. That would be basically EPA mandated. So in any case, the state, I think, Marty, will grant the NRPA permit in that situation because it's not as high a level of a stream as they would consider to be sacrosanct. Okay, if that was Goff Mill Brook itself, they would say absolutely no, you're not getting an NRPA permit for violating that 75 foot, because that 75 foot is also their setback as well. It's their setback from any water course, but because it isn't as an important water course for them, they'll probably grant it. I love it when it gets silence after I talk.
Yeah.
A lot of processing going on.
Yeah.
Okay. Next.
Okay, so you
Is that
all,
it?
did you all get the email from Tad?
Yeah.
First blush, guys. I was trying to think of things that would be extraordinary. I haven't put in yet, it can't be a self-inflicted wound. But what is in there is that the affected parcel must be a lot of record prior to June 14th, 2017. That's the date that we instituted our new shoreline zoning. So those people who have a lot, we instituted a stricter shoreline zoning than we had prior to that date. So they can qualify if they have a lot that's a lot of record before them. So in other words, in this case and I'm not trying to pick on Nick at all, but in this particular case with Nick, he wouldn't be able to do it because it's a new lot. You'd automatically be disqualified. If you know that you've got this resource there and you've got this regulation there, you can't violate that. You can't even ask for this exemption. So that's the importance of the first one. It is also limited for a single family dwelling unit. So it would exclude businesses or business uses from basically doing an encroachment upon that resource. And one of the reasons we're doing that is because a business use would probably be a greater impact than a residential use. Tell me I'm wrong on that. I have no problem with that, but that's the first one. The second was that the encroachment, I said on the second one that was only for a single family residential unit, not for accessory structures, walls, decks, landscape elements. We've run into a lot of problems in the past of encroachments that have occurred. People putting a bridge across. I have a friend who put a bridge across the brook and I had to tell him to take it out. But, basically people like to go down the water and put in a patio or something within that district. They don't think it's much of an impact, but it can be an impact. Those kind of landscape elements, those kind of uses would not be permitted as a use that would be granted a special exception. I was thinking about compensation, especially in the stream protection district. One of the reasons why you have that 75-foot setback for the stream and from the upland edge of the wetlands associated with that stream is water quality protection. And also it does two things. It's water quality protection. It's filtered stormwater that comes down through into the stream. So we don't have the problem that we currently are having in that watershed, in the Goff Mill watershed. And also to provide cover to provide tree cover, whether a tree or understory cover. And that cover is important for two reasons: cooling down the surface waters of both the brooks and the wetlands that are associated with it, keeping it a little cooler. Thermal changes in a brook in any kind of stream condition can have a severe effect upon the ecology of that stream. The other thing that's used is terrestrial animals use those corridors, those treed corridors or those shrub corridors, as migratory routes or pathways to get from one area to another, from a sleeping area to a feeding area to a protective area to a nesting area. You know, those corridors are absolutely critical. And that's why DEP originally came up with the 75-foot setback, which many wildlife biologists will tell you isn't enough, and depending on the species. For deer, it's probably enough. For others, may not be enough. Certainly not enough for moose, but we don't have a lot of those right now. The gradient of the bordering upland in the impact area is a natural reverse gradient away from the stream and associated wetlands. This doesn't happen very often, but it can happen. If you've ever seen a deep stream, a deep ravine stream, and we do have some, in which actually the land can slope away from the lip of that ravine, but the applicant has to maintain 75 feet when, if you were doing even farming, I've seen a number of farms where they actually cannot grade, they cannot till up to 75 feet, and the slope away from that ravine is in the opposite direction, and it's not going to have any impact upon that stream. In situations like that, we should be able to allow some encroachment, as long as there isn't an encroachment again of that canopy. Or if you're going to encroach on that existing canopy, compensate for it. Compensate it by, if you own both sides of the stream, adding more over here, or give a little bit bigger buffer a little farther down. And then the last one, no slopes exceeding 20%. I think that's pretty much a given, because slopes over 20% are difficult to stabilize. Steve is going to have some issues with stabilizing that mound that they've got out at Raymond's, which is one of the reasons why he's using some mats. He's using mats of hay-scented fern, because you can roll it out almost like a soil erosion mat. And there's some places in there where it exceeds 20%, and he put in that boulder wall, if you remember, as well, to help step it down so you wouldn't have that slope problem. So that's just my initial thought for just the stream protection district. I'm afraid we have something similar to this, as you recall, in the Shoreline Overlay District. And it's limited basically to just wetlands. It doesn't even deal with some of our protected streams, like in Richardson Brook or Upper Thatcher Brook, in which there's no, there's no leeway for encroachments in those areas, because they are part of an impaired urban stream there. So this is my first blush. I'm sure you guys have a lot of things to say about this, and you might want to add or delete, but this is something to begin thinking about. If we're going to have special exceptions, then we need criteria so we don't run into the situation we ran into before. As Jens said, if there's no criteria, how are we doing something that's not arbitrary and capricious? And the only thing we can do is say, well, it's for the good of the resource, whatever that means. This helps.
Well, I think what Rich said.
I think that is a good thing. I mean, for the Raymond situation, I mean, I really appreciated the remarks by some of the other members of the board that, it's a slippery slope, and if we allow that for one, then the lost its meaning and its protection. But I think with the Raymond situation, I disagree with some of you that about that being his fault. I mean, I can't really fault a homeowner for things that are within the professional control of third-party experts like contractors and surveyors and others in his situation. And I kind of felt like, you know what, we're going to get on this whole thing about giving a special exception some needed criteria. And that's what's going to distinguish future events from the Raymond event. So he got, he got a pass. This young man got a pass. He's lucky. I think going forward, we'll have appropriate criteria, and I feel good about that. I think we need it when it comes to environmental protections. So that's my thought.
Good.
I agree. I think he got a pass. I don't think he deserved one, but that's irrelevant. We gave him a pass. And if somebody says, well, what was the planning board doing? The planning board gave him permission to do it. I'm not going to say to them I liked it or I didn't like it. I might say that to you guys here in the board, but I'm not going to say that to the general public. I think he got a break, and I don't think he should have, but it's irrelevant. He got the break, and we're going to move on from there.
Well, I think the way we remedy it is exactly what we're doing now and what Tad wrote up. And I think you should add F, and that should be that it's not due to man-made error or activity, but to some environmental cause that has nothing to do with the development of the property. So, I think that's too many words, but that it's not man-made, that it's environmental, which is basically what Rich was saying. And I think by having their criteria, I don't think we have to answer why they got it and why they didn't. I mean, I think Jens is right. It was vague and not defined. And so we acknowledge that, and now we're defining it.
Yep. And Jens is absolutely correct. It was very vague. Especially, like I said, I think it's a great idea to define it. We just need to move on. Once we get that figured out, we can move on.
So I think that looks good, Ted. Just add that, I think add that, I'm sure that one piece, and there perhaps a couple of others, and I can't think of what they are right now, but I'm sure somebody will have it and we'll be done.
Oh, Jens disappeared. Oh. I agree. It's, it is one of those things, and we could bring up Raymond Acres over and over again, but it doesn't make any difference. It's done.
But it happens all the time. I mean, people exploit a loophole, and then the loophole gets closed, and that's exactly what just happened.
That's exactly what's happening
right
here.
So there we go.
We find, well, it's like anything. One thing sorry.
We can feel good about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing about the ordinance is you don't get to test flight it. We can't put it through we should put it through the paces, but you don't sometimes see all of the holes in it until its situation arises. So that's, as you say, Susan, we find where there's a weakness and we fix that. I'm interested, Jamie, do you see anything in here that should be added or subtracted, since you've had to deal with this too?
I unfortunately can't open it right now. I'll have to wait and open it on my work computer.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I'd be interested to hear what you have to say about that.
This special exception was one of those infamous Bob Coons landmines.
Yeah, I mean, I guess my thought and part of the rationale that played in with me, and one thing I was looking for while you guys were talking, but I couldn't quite put my hands on it, was what were the DEP restrictions for development adjacent to a stream? I know that you've got to go through like an NRP or a stream crossing. Right. And there's a permit by rule provision, to construct adjacent to a waterway. And I don't remember the particular far off that is, and how far how it compares to what we have as the 75-foot.
I think they have it for any perennial stream, don't they?
For a crossing.
Yeah, for a crossing. Yeah.
But I don't know.
Well, what was interesting was that Leon had that our stream protection district mislabeled as an NRPA. And he said, no, that's an NRPA. I said, how's that in an NRPA setback? And he said, I don't know. I called somebody at DEP, and that's what they told me it was. And they made a permit by rule application, and they had sent it in to DEP, and it's a PBR, so nobody was going to respond to it. So, but it was actually Jeff, the shoreline zoning coordinator for Southern Maine, called those guys up and said, hey, it's a shoreline zone. And they said, whoa, okay, then whatever, we're going to deny it, or we're not going to move on this unless the planning board gives the authority to move forward on this, because it's a shoreline zone. But they still have some sort of jurisdiction over it. And it's a good point. I'm trying to remember exactly what it is. I have to go back and find out.
I want to look it up because, I want to make sure we stay consistent. Yeah, consistent within, I don't mind if we're, I guess, a little more restricted, but I would hate to see us go hog wild.
Yeah, agreed.
Okay. Anything else on the shoreland special exception?
No, not from me.
We have one more piece of business. We had town meeting last week. We now have to elect the chairman, the vice chair, the secretary, the treasurer.
We have money.
Now, we don't have a treasurer. So the secretary, the vice chair, and the chair for the next year.
Hey, I nominate Rich Canone for chair.
I second that motion.
Are there any other nominations? Anybody else want to self-nominate? Noah? Jens is going, not me, baby. All right, I will close the nominations for chair, and we will do a roll call vote. Marty?
Aye.
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 Jens said aye. Jamie?
Aye.
Roger?
Aye.
Okay, it is unanimous. Now we need a vice chair.
I nominate Susan.
I'll second that.
Motion's been made and seconded for Susan to be the vice chair. Anybody else want to step up to the job? Hearing none. Marty?
Aye. But we
Jamie?
have to ask her if she'll accept it first.
I will.
Doesn't matter. Bring it back impressment.
Back into service.
Yeah, there you go. Indentured servitude.
Ready.
Jens?
Aye.
Jamie?
Aye.
Roger?
Aye.
And I'm saying aye, so it is unanimous on that side. Now we need a secretary.
We can vote for somebody that's not there, right? So Tom McGinn is my choice.
Okay. I like the way you work.
Okay, I'll second that.
Motion has been made and seconded for Tom to be the secretary. Is there anybody else that would like to do the job? Is there anybody in opposition to Tom being the secretary?
I think Tom being the secretary is a great idea, but I tell you what,
Of course you do.
if he's resistant to that, if that makes him sore and he's really not happy about that, then I'm happy to be third backup behind Sue. So,
Okay. I appreciate that. Oh,
Being the secretary, you have to take the minutes.
Do we not get to hire another Corinne?
No,
Really?
no.
Well, if it's on video, we shouldn't have to have a secretary. They can go back to the tape.
I have to do minutes. It's in the charter. I'm doing the minutes.
oh, you do? Okay, good.
see,
So
I'm-
what does that mean? It's seriously just, it's second backup to the chair, right? Behind the VP.
Yeah.
Vice, with the CC.
Pretty much.
That's pretty much it, huh?
Yeah.
Well, no, you got to take the minutes at all the site walks.
Oh, no.
Okay, all right, I can
Back
handle
to
that.
Tom.
I'll even type them up for you.
Okay, so I have a motion. I don't have you did a
Aye.
reverse roll call by saying, does anybody object?
Right.
And nobody did.
We got nothing from it. Marty just said aye.
Okay.
Susan?
Aye.
Aye.
Jens said aye. Jamie?
Aye.
Roger?
Aye.
It's unanimous.
Okay, the other business, Mr. Chairman, next week.
Next week, this is going to be a screwy schedule. Arundel Conservation Trust is coming in front of us next week with a plan. They're doing some fill in the shoreland overlay zone behind the town hall. So they have to come to us to get a permit for it. So they're going to present that to us next week. The week after, on the 6th of August, we're going to do a public hearing and hopefully at that point vote. They have somebody lined up to do the work during the month of August. Otherwise, we'd make them wait and go through the entire process. But this whole thing, I don't think this thing should take more than 15 or 20 minutes on either one of those nights.
I'm fine with
Most
that.
specifically, Rich, they're doing a bike trail, a mountain bike trail.
That's correct. And there's a small little section that they need to dig up, add some material to, and compact back down that is in the shoreland overlay zone. If it weren't in the shoreland zone, it would have gone through site review.
It's actually in stream protection. It's actually in
Stream protection, okay, sorry.
It's actually for crossing. They're crossing the existing bridge. If you remember, we walked over that bridge and we did our site walk on the trails. And so it's going to lead up to that bridge. And at some future date, probably later on this summer, starting the summer and the fall, they're going to want to come and do an application to do this bike trail through the Resource Protection District. And it's a permitted use, but it's going to take some creative design to meet the Resource Protection District standards. But I think we can do it. But this is phase one. The object's to get this bike trail through the trail and all the way to the Eastern Trail eventually. At least that's what Joan tells me. And Joan is she'll be representing the ACT group at this point. I assume it's Joan. Is that right, Jamie? Or is Leah going to be involved too? Or is this Joan's show?
Probably more Joan.
That's what I
from
thought.
what I understand.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Because I've been dealing only with Joan at this time.
Right.
They've given me an application. It's pretty tight. I've talked to the contractor who does it. The lead person in ACT who is a bike advocate. I've talked to him. I had a Zoom meeting with Joan and the contractor named Eric who's done this. He sent a lot of information. I will be sending that to you guys. Oh, geez, I should have done it today. I'll send it to you Monday.
Okay.
That's okay. I'll go back to work tomorrow if you want me to send it for the weekend if you want to look at it. No big deal. I got it for you anyways.
No.
I'm fine with getting it on Monday.
Jamie's
Me too.
already seen it, right, Jane?
Yeah, I'm good with that too.
Absolutely.
I will send you the links for the Zoom meeting for next week.
And I
You'll
will
get-
tell you-
You'll get two emails from me, probably tomorrow. One for the Zoom meeting and another one that has to be DocuSigned for DMR and Raymond Acres. So that we can sign the findings of fact on both of those.
Well, we haven't done DMR yet.
Right, Tad's still waiting for
Oh, I'm
things
sorry.
from
You're right.
DMR,
I'm
from
sorry.
Amy.
I'm thinking the two of them, it was Amy, so she's got me flustered in terms of what I'm thinking. It's the two of them for Raymond Acres, one for the shoreland and one for the lot line.
Right,
And I'll send both of those out. They're going to be in the same PDF DocuSign, so you'll sign one and then go down and sign the other one.
okay.
Other than that, I have nothing.
I move we adjourn
Question-
unless there's
question-
other
question.
business.
Yeah, Marty.
Question. When does this state of Maine thing, I guess disband or for about these Zoom meetings? Any idea?
I'm thinking it's going to be sometime in 2029, the way things are going.
Technically, right now, it's August 6th, Mr. Chairman.
She keeps, the governor keeps rolling them forward, and until the legislature reconvenes and gives her permission or denies her permission, we're going to keep having these things go on. So I don't know.
That's fine with me, but I just thought I'd just ask the question.
That being said, Maine is doing pretty well. It's one of the few states that's going down as opposed to up.
Yep.
So if it saves us from getting sick, I'm all for it.
Is there anything that you need to bring to us, Tad?
No, that's about it. No, I have nothing else.
Anything about reappointments?
Thank you, Marty. I wanted to ask that question. Because I know that you said, you told Keith that you were willing to serve on, correct?
Correct.
I don't know about Jamie and Jens. Has Keith approached you guys?
No, but I saw that email and I realized today when I was pulling up the Zoom meeting that I didn't respond to it. So yeah, I'm willing.
Okay, good.
Is that good enough, or do you need an email back?
No, I'm going to tell him that you're willing. Jens, how about you? Are you up?
Yeah. I'm assuming this whole Zoom experience is going to come to an end. Because to be honest with you, I more enjoy the interaction with my colleagues, at a real meeting. But
I think we all do, although it's kind of fun to sit here and meet with you all in my tutu. It's
so much information.
I can't get that picture out of my head. Thanks.
If you saw any John Kaczynski's email, his videos, he did a set. He's a funny guy. Obviously, he was from The Office, and he's an actor. And he had this wonderful blog he was doing once a week to lighten things up during COVID. And he was in there a suit one day, and then he got up to leave, and he had the suit on and the tie and shirt, but he was wearing a tutu just for laughs, to make his daughter laugh.
That'll work. And then Roger, you said you'll serve until he finds a replacement?
Yeah.
Good enough.
Okay. All right. Well, I will tell him that so he can put you all on the agenda. I agree with you, Jens. I think it'll be nice to, the interaction is missed.
Yeah, I agree with Jens on that one. I miss getting together.
I do too.
Just, sitting at home, it's great to be able to conduct business, but it's not the same as being able to see somebody face to face.
Yes.
And although many consultants prefer this, I think applicants prefer face to face.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So anyways, so that's all I've got.
Okay.
I will make.
I'll second Sue's motion then.
Okay.
All right.
I move we adjourn. Jens is second.
Yay.
We are done. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.